I'm Dawn, and I would like to welcome you to my channel. Aloha! As you can see, I have these beautiful Hawaiian flowers here. A neighbor recently received them and was going out of town and brought them over for us to enjoy. I think they're stunning and I absolutely love Hawaii. So that inspired me to make banana bread. Those of you that have been to Hawaii probably remember seeing banana bread huts around the island. So I thought it would be fun to share with you my favorite banana bread recipe. A lot of people make banana bread. Who doesn't love banana bread? I think this is the best recipe, so it's my go-to recipe. It has a special little element I will share with you to keep it moist. So that's key to me, a moist bread that cuts easily, it's delicious, a lot of flavor. So the things you're gonna need are laid out below, and I will post a recipe as well. Let's get started. The first thing you're gonna need to do is preheat your oven. I've already preheated mine to 350, it's warming up. The next thing is grab bananas. So what I do is when my bananas start to turn a little bit and they're no longer kind of that firm, nice, fresh texture, they're just a little overripe, I throw them in the freezer. I usually pull them out, chop them into chunks, and I either throw them into protein shakes or pull them out for banana bread. So I have already pre-thawed some banana. I'm just going to show you real quickly what they look like. Okay, so they're not the most attractive, but that's why we're using them. Once they've been frozen, they blend very easily. If I had not had a chance to freeze them, I would just use a ripe banana and go in with a fork and mash them. But these are so mushy from having been frozen. We're good to go on that. And they smell like banana. They are very flavorful. So I'm gonna set those aside. The next thing you would need to do is if you are not using a stoneware, which I'm using a great pan that I don't really need to pre-butter, but I normally would butter if I was using a typical loaf pan. You wanna go in with some butter, and I'll show you how. And you're just gonna butter it, and this is just to make sure that the bread lifts out in the end. There's nothing like spending all this time and effort on a banana bread or any kind of bread, just to have it not lift out at the end and break into pieces, especially if you're serving it to others. So you're gonna take this and you're just gonna go in and paint the inside. It doesn't need to be thick, you just wanna get the edges, especially the corners, where it could stick easily, and the bottom, and around the edges. So there you go, that's a nicely greased pan. You're gonna grab your mixer, whatever mixer you have. You can use a stand mixer, you can use a hand mixer, and you're gonna put in 1 stick of butter, and it's already room temperature. It's really difficult to bake with butter if it's not room temperature. So this has been sitting out. It's not melted by any means, it's just room temperature. And then we're gonna take 1 cup of sugar. So I've already pre-measured just to save a little time, and we're gonna put it in the bowl. A little bit more. And then we are going to attach the paddle. This is the one you're going to want to use for this. It's just a really good blender. I'm going to pop it on here. And then I'm going to raise my bowl. And I'm just going to blend the 2 ingredients until they're nice and combined and smooth and creamy. You want to get this really mixed. And the reason is, once you add flour and that mixture that you'll see in a minute, it will get tough if you overmix it. So you really want to make sure that it doesn't need further mixing once you put the other ingredients in. So I'm going to let that go for a minute. So now that the butter and the sugar are creamed together, I'm going to add 2 eggs. And then I'm just going to mix it to combine the eggs in. So we're still just doing eggs, sugar, butter, and blend that in. The next step, you will take your flour, I've already pre-measured it, and you're going to add a teaspoon of baking soda, and you want to make sure that it's fresh baking soda. You don't want to reuse anything that's been in the refrigerator, making your refrigerator smell good, because that would have taken on other odors. So a nice fresh baking soda that's for baking. And then I'm going to add a teaspoon of salt, your choice. I tend to use Himalayan for almost everything, don't have to, just love it. And then you're gonna mix it in. So you could use a sifter at this point. I'm gonna go a little bit easier route. I'm just gonna blend it in with a whisk. So I'm just mixing to incorporate those ingredients. And then I'm going to add the mixture, the flour, salt, and baking soda into the wet ingredients. Okay? So now that that's in, we are going to mix just to combine. And when a recipe says that, they mean literally just mix it until it's combined and then stop. You don't want to overbeat this and make it a tough bread. We want a really tender, moist bread after all. So I start slowly, and the reason is flour can go all over the place. Dry ingredients can just make a little bit of a mess. So I go gentle at first, just make sure it starts to get a little bit wet and mixed in, and then once it looks like it's mixed in, I go up a little bit, just long enough to blend. That's all I needed. It's incorporated, it looks like dough. The next step you're gonna do is add in the final wet ingredients. So for this, I'm gonna add in my bananas. I have about 2 bananas, it depends on the size. I go between 2 and 3 bananas. If you're a little light on the banana, which is a good, form of moistness, then you will want to maybe up your sour cream or Greek yogurt a teeny bit. So I just kind of adjust. If I have a little extra banana and I really want a really good banana flavor, I may pull back a teeny bit. But basically 2 to 3 bananas at the most. I'm gonna show you the traditional way, which is sour cream, but absolutely feel free to do Greek yogurt. It's healthy, it does the same thing. You can't go wrong either way. So I'm gonna scoop out 1/2 cup of sour cream. I think Greek yogurt and sour cream add a nice contrast to all the sweet. So I'm gonna put in my sour cream. And now I'm going to add a teaspoon of this vanilla. It was a fundraiser and my parents bought it for me. I thought it was such a neat gift. All right, so I've added the vanilla. And it smells so good. It already smells tropical in a way. And I'm just going to incorporate the last few ingredients here. So I'm just going to mix to combine. Same thing, just enough to get it in there. And I'm mixing on medium-high speed. Started at medium, went up to about medium-high. And it looks beautiful. It smells really good. So I thought it would be fun, since I have the Hawaiian flowers and inspiration going on today, I'm going to add some hazelnuts. I don't typically put nuts in my banana bread. It's very traditional to do so, and I like it, but a lot of people are like, I don't really like the nuts. So I either put in pretty fine ground up nuts, or I just omit. And sometimes I will put chocolate chips in a banana bread, especially if I'm making it for somebody that particularly likes chocolate. I'm going to add these hazelnuts. I think it will be a fun little twist. You're gonna put 1/2 cup of nuts, whatever kind you want. You could also do macadamia nuts, that'd be really fun. So I'm just going to sprinkle these in. And it adds a neat texture to the banana bread, it really does. All right, so I'm just gonna mix this in real quickly. Again, I don't wanna overmix, I'm just gonna incorporate it real quickly. Be ever so gentle with this dough. And that's it. So now we are ready to pop the dough into the pan and put in the oven. So it really depends on your oven, how hot and fast your oven cooks. I usually cook this bread for 1 hour to 1 hour and 10 minutes. I always check it on the early side, maybe even a couple minutes early. So let's get this into its pan. My oven is ready. It's kind of frustrating when you make the dough and you're all ready to pop it in the oven. You're like, oh man, I forgot. Just a friendly reminder to start that oven before you get going. Because this really, as you can see, does come together quite quickly. It's not hard to make things like this. I love home cooked goods because there aren't all the added preservatives and chemicals and things that we can't even pronounce on the back of labels that scare me. Okay, so this is the dough. It looks beautiful. It's thick, but not too gummy. So let's pour it in. So you can see kind of the consistency. See how it's thick and combined? That's perfect. It's not runny. Okay, so we're just gonna pop this in there. I think cooking makes a house smell like a home. I really think that's the main ingredient. Something I also do that is really fun is I will make a lot of mini loaves. So I have a couple mini pans, or you can get one pan that has several mini pans in it. And you can do those and just hand them out to friends and neighbors. Like my neighbors, you know, brought me flowers. People just love getting little goodies. I would actually bring them some, but they're going out of town. That's the reason I have the flowers. All right, so we are going to spread it evenly. It will settle on its own as well. I'm just gonna go quick evening out, and we are gonna pop it in the oven. So we have the banana bread ready to go. If your loaf pan comes with a lid, it has holes that will let the air escape, and it really makes sure that it cooks a very even bread. So I kind of go back and forth with this, but I think I might pop this on. I might check the bread, you know, at that 50, 55 minute mark and make sure it's not overcooking, but I think I'm gonna try it. Let's give it a try. Okay, so we will check back in about an hour. I might check in a little bit early. Again, I really like a moist bread, so I don't want to risk overcooking it. I want it to the point where the middle is just barely done. So I will meet you back here in about an hour. Okay, I just pulled the banana bread out of the oven. The house smells delicious. This is the final product. I tested it in the middle with a skewer, and I'll show you how you do that. So when the time is right about the time it should be cooked, I tested a minute or two early and stuck it in for a couple more minutes. You're gonna want to insert some kind of a toothpick, a cake tester, something, even a skewer like this, into the middle. And when it comes out clean, meaning no dough on it, you're good to go. If it comes up with some dough on it, you certainly want to give it just a little bit more. This is perfectly cooked. I'm gonna cool it on a cooling rack. This will allow the bread to cool a little quicker. It will stop the heating process because it won't be in the pan any longer, and then I'll be right back and show you the final product, and we'll cut into it and see how delicious it looks. All right, it's been about 5 minutes. I'm gonna just lift the cake. Hopefully it's ready to move. Just wanna give it a second to rest, solidify a little, pull away from the pan. So I'm going to transfer it. Okay, let's see if it just lifts right out. It did, wonderful. I'm going to ever so gently flip it over. I just don't want that indentation on the top of my bread. Not a huge deal, but I just want it to stay pretty. You can see how using a really good pan and butter in the pan really helps because it lifted out. There wasn't a pull or a tear. It wasn't hard to get out. It just fell right out. That's what you want. It's really frustrating when you put so much care into something and it sticks in the pan. Make sure and butter that pan. This is why. It really pays off. So I'm gonna let that sit for just about 10 or 15 minutes, and then I will put it on the cutting board and slice into it and show you what it looks like in the inside. And you will see that it is just a beautifully moist interior. It doesn't crack, it just cuts beautifully. And I wish you could smell it in your own home, but make it, trust me, like and subscribe to this channel, look for the recipe below, and try it out. I think you'll be really happy you did. Now for the final step, we're gonna slice this up. I really want you to see the inside of this bread. I'm excited about the little bit of tropical nut we added. I think it's gonna be great. It smells delicious. So let's cut it. I personally don't love the ends. They have a little bit of a crispness to them. Some people like that. Before I serve any kind of a bread, I tend to cut off that edge. And my dogs never mind because that means they get a little sample. My favorite part of the banana bread is the center. As you can tell, this is cutting beautifully. It's not cracking apart, it's not tough, it's not tearing. It's just cutting really easily, staying in shape, and it's wonderful. I'm gonna cut to the middle because, as I just said, that's my favorite. So let's pull a piece out, and I'm just gonna show you what the banana bread looks like. So we're just gonna layer these up, and oh my goodness, it's still warm, it smells so good, but there you go. So I am just gonna sit and enjoy myself with a cup of tea. Enjoy your banana bread at home. And again, if you liked this episode and found it helpful, it's always fun, even if you have a banana bread recipe, to try something new. If you have an idea you'd like to share with me, I would love that. I'm open to all ideas. So here is the banana bread all sliced up. If you found this useful and you would like to see more content like this, please, by all means, like and subscribe to my channel. You can also follow me on Instagram and Facebook under Living Life Beautifully. Thanks again for joining me. Make some banana bread at home. Make your house smell amazing. You will not regret it. See you soon.